podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Ed,
yo,
how are you bearing up?
I'm pretty good. I mean, every day's like, I was going to say every day like Sunday, or Monday, or Tuesday, or Wednesday.
Yeah. We took. Well, I was saying we. It was me that did it. We took this weekend and last weekend off, but we've had a ton of messages from people. Nobody complaining, I have to say. Just a ton of messages from people saying they kind of really appreciate getting the podcast and feeling grounded in some sense of normality. So back to 2 week, normal service is resumed.
I did
I've had
put
a little holiday.
A message on Twitter saying, taking a little break this weekend. Someone wrote back, oh yeah, where are you off to? I was like, Barbados, go sunning, hit the beaches in Miami, the usual.
I had an isolation birthday on Monday. Thank you very much for my lovely mug. Ed sent me a lovely Eric Cantona mug. It was a nice surprise. I made myself a cake and then suddenly realised, we have a problem in that I'm in the house on my own with a giant birthday cake. So fortunately, I had to do a medicine delivery to my mum. So I was able to combine that with some cake, and then I didn't have to eat the whole cake myself. At some point, I thought I was just going to be knocking on neighbours' doors, like dropping cake on the porch and running away. But I didn't have to do that in the end.
Very good. So what's been going on?
Yeah, well, you were saying that. I mean, I guess let's have some meltdown chat. You were saying that Arsenal are in meltdown, and then Paul Pogba, beyond innocently, sent the football world into meltdown once again. And honestly, it must be really difficult being Paul Pogba. We'll talk about that in a minute. But I want to hear what's going on with Arsenal.
Well, on the last pod, we talked a little bit about how the PFA and the Premier League talks had broken down. So this idea that the players could take something of a wage, either a wage deferral or a cut, or maybe a bit of both, up to something like the level of 30%. A lot of Premier League chairmen / owners are extremely worried about the finances. They should be. Football is not returning anytime soon. All the broadcast contracts are under threat. It's potentially £1 billion problem for the Premier League. So there's been an effort. That broke down, so they couldn't get a league-wide collective agreement. And then it's sort of been up to clubs to try and get collective agreements. It doesn't look like, by the way, United are pushing for this at the moment, but maybe news will come out about this. United are in a relatively good position, although it could get quite painful for the club still. But over at Arsenal, someone has been leaking, because there's all sorts of stuff coming out of Arsenal about just how badly this has gone down. So the Cronkies, the owners, now full owners of Arsenal, have sought to impose a 30% cut on the squad. This is on top of the likely 25% cut for not making next year's Champions League. And it's to say it's not gone down well is an understatement, it would appear. So amusing for those of us who like to see Arsenal in something of a meltdown. But it also says something about the state of the finances at a club that's supposedly in a very healthy financial position. And that should tell us something about the very precarious position that the Premier League as a whole is in. Because for all that revenue, it is what Alan Sugar calls prune juice. It just goes straight out to the players. And so all last financial accounting, all but 5 Premier League clubs made a loss.
I mean, it's mad, isn't it? It's like we were talking about that John McKenzie anonymous player interview, and he was saying like the idea that all the money goes to the players. And we know this, more broadcast contracts just doesn't mean that clubs get better run or they get better managed. United's kind of commercial advantage at this point is their commercial advantage, isn't it? It's just literally the volume of money that they bring in and the kind of what's the word? The fact that it's fairly diversified compared to clubs who have like broadcast stream, gate receipt stream, matchday income stream, and then some commercial income. But the amount of money that goes out is just completely unsustainable if you pause football for 2 months.
Yeah, sure. And we should think about the long-term impact of this on football. It's going to be pretty significant. So when stories are going around this past week that United might make a £200 million bid for Kane, there's never a chance. There's just never a chance that this is going to happen at that kind of scale. Just no. Football is going to have to trim its sails really significantly, including Manchester United, because the impact on United, if the season doesn't finish, will be £50 million in broadcast. And it might not be give us our money back. It might be discounts on future years' deals. Significant impact on next year's revenue because the club would presumably be back in the Europa League. This is if the season was voided. And the discount from Adidas. This is why everyone is pushing. It's like, doesn't matter if it finishes in 2023, we're finishing this season, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, and the £200 million for Harry Kane, by the way, just a brief side note, that would be history's stupidest ever football transfer, and there's some competition, like Harry Kane, a player very clearly in decline, not peaking. So, I'm not saying like he's going to be useless in 2 seasons' time. I just mean if you somehow were able to spend 200 million on Harry Kane 5 years ago, that would be really smart.
Yeah. I was actually looking at his numbers today ahead of this podcast, and it's gone down. It depends on metrics, of course, but sort of aggregate grouping of various important metrics per 90 have basically all gone down each year for the last 4 years, and he's got his injury problems as well. So it would be a dumb one, and it's not going to happen anyway, even if it was. Anyway, so what else has been happening this week?
So friend of the show, Sam Homewood, who is the host of the official Manchester United podcast, has a really nice style. He's my friend, obviously, so like I am biased, but he has a really nice style when he asks difficult questions of United players and ex-players. And they're not like probing, intense journalistic questions. That's not what it's for. But he doesn't shy away from difficult subjects. And he does it with this kind of twinkle of like, look, we're all grown-ups here. We all know what's happened. And he does a fantastic job of it. He made an offhand joke. They were talking about, the question was like, what's it like to be so talked about all the time? And Pogba said, I've taken to not watching the punditry. I can't really watch the punditry. Which, if I was Paul Pogba, I certainly wouldn't be watching any punditry. That is for sure. I'd be cherry-picking whose advice and guidance I wanted about where I could improve. I wouldn't be watching what Jamie Redknapp's got to say. Sam said, pretty jokingly, if I was you, I would have sent Graham Souness a picture of me with the World Cup. And Paul Pogba kind of has a moment of recognition and goes, oh yeah, like I didn't know who he was. He is not having 1% of a dig. He's telling the honest truth. David May then, lacking journalistic insight or instincts in a very big way, jumps in and goes, oh, you didn't know who we were either. And that's another conversation. But the reaction to this, like I saw a little...
It's very predictable.
Yeah, I saw a little pull quote that Joe had put together, joe.co.uk, and I had to go at my friend that works there, like, this is like really out of order because it says like, I've never heard of Graham Souness or whatever. That is actually literally not a quote. Pogba didn't say I've never, he said, oh yeah, I had never heard of him. It's like when some Billie Eilish had never heard of some band, I can't even remember what band it was, some band that you and I would obviously have heard of. And it's like, well, it's because she's a 17-year-old girl.
Yeah. And look, I think it's fine for Paul Pogba, who probably wasn't, when was Pogba born? Mid-80s or something like that? He was born after Souness's heyday, to not remember Souness, especially since he did not grow up in English football culture.
Do you think
So why would you? And I don't think this is a problem. I think it'd be it'd be much more funny if Sam had gone for the journalistic. Is it not true, sir, that you think Souness is a scumbag?
That might have been funnier. This like fully did my head in, because like no wonder footballers can't act like adults and talk about things with some honesty and sanity, because the world goes insane when they like cough funny. Like obviously the Carragher quote where he said show us your medals, that was also taken out of context because he said that with like a big grin on his face, like making light of it. So the whole thing is just people taking football about 3,000% too seriously all the time, and Paul Pogba being a weird magnet for. I'm like, do you think Scott McTominay knows who Jean Tigana is? Like, maybe because he was the manager of Fulham. Maybe. Do you think he knows who like Donadoni is? It's insane.
Yes. All very amusing. He's been living rent-free inside Souness's head for some time, and now inside the heads of everyone in Liverpool as well, it seems. So this week, United lit up Old Trafford. We talked a lot about United's relationship with the NHS, been donating food and kit and medical staff and other stuff that's having a material impact. And they lit up Old Trafford as... like unlit some of the letters, so it says NHS United or just NHS, which was a nice gesture. Old Trafford looked fabulous. They made it blue and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
It was really beautiful.
I mean,
and cool, and it didn't half trigger my cynical. The cynical siren going off in my head. So, I mean, Twitter was full of people sort of, clap, this is super classy, clap, clap, clap emojis. And I was like, yeah, sure, it's great. But at the same time, over the pond, 5,000 miles away, Ed Glazer in particular, but the other family members have been running fundraising, high dollar donor events for Trump for the last 4 years. And Trump, this week, in fact, was another stage of, it's a 14 Republican Attorney General versus Obamacare going up to the Supreme Court. That will strip 30 million people of their health care. Yeah.
So it's like...
So that doesn't have to matter to Manchester United fans, except for the context that our owners couldn't give a about people's healthcare.
Yeah. In fact, they are actively campaigning to deny people public healthcare.
Yeah. And we can. These two things, there's obviously a dichotomy here, but these two things can exist at the same time. It can be a nice gesture, but it's a gesture.
It literally is a nice gesture. And, you as you always say, you can hold two thoughts in your head at once. And this is like a classic example of we can hold the two thoughts in our head at once, of recognising, because the people that made the decision to do that, probably not the same people that are fundraising to strip millions of people of healthcare in the States.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. But it doesn't have to be that Tampa phones up, bat phone to Ed Woodward. Hey, Ed, we need you to light up the Manchester United sign to support the NHS because we're scumbags and we'd like you to paper over that. And, I know that doesn't happen like that.
No. But it's there's a kind of the image of United with NHS. Like next time I'm there, I will definitely think of that image. That image is seared in my brain. And one of the things that I think is very interesting is that people don't realise what an intensely political image it actually is. I mean, we've just had this thing where this amazing old guy has been doing 100 laps of his garden for his birthday. It's captured the national attention. The last time I saw...
Has someone been checking he's really been doing a full lap?
Yeah, yes, they have actually, funnily enough.
He's been cutting the corners, hasn't he?
The last I saw was that the total raised was £12 million, which is an extraordinary collective act of generosity from the British people, all of whom could do with being reminded when the next election comes around that the NHS is not a charity. We're not supposed to have to fundraise for the NHS. It's public health. Now, I've given money to health service charities while this is going on. I'll continue to do so as I'm able to. I think it's absolutely the right thing to do. I also think we need to wave a flag every now and again that goes public health service. I mean, now we're dealing with a catastrophe that wasn't expected and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But really, it shouldn't be down to, just like food banks. I would happily give money to food banks, again, like have done, but they shouldn't have to exist. And they certainly shouldn't have to be funded by individual donations. So it's the whole two thoughts in the head. But I'll remember the image of United lit up with the NHS, and I hope it lives large in people's memory for a really long time. I mean, I think the public goodwill to the NHS will last for a generation at least after this, and will probably pretty dramatically change some aspects of public policy, but we'll see.
Well, maybe, but that's a whole other podcast. Maybe we'll have a chat about that on the bonus content at some point.
Yeah.
Should we move on to this week's game?
Talking of things that should be free, but we're going to charge for. We'll talk about it on the bonus content. We hope you're enjoying the No Question About That podcast. We are open for sponsorship, so if you run the kind of business that would be interested in sponsoring our show, just drop us an email at nqatpod@gmail.com. Let's talk about this week's game. An incredible nostalgia fest for me, because as I said at the end of the show last week, this is a game which has a weirdly intense significance in my life. I would say that more than anything, this is the game that's why I'm a United fan, because the 1985 FA Cup final, which I remember, I don't remember any of the I remember watching, I don't remember any of the detail of it. And after that, it was like, I knew I was a United fan, mostly just because I was copying you, Ed. That's literally why I mostly did it, because you were older than me and seemed to know what you were doing. But this game, somehow I had the second half on VHS and just rinsed it and watched it over and over and over again. And this is why United are my team, really. So it's Tottenham 3, Manchester United 3 from December 96. Did you know Alex Ferguson's second ever home game?
Yeah, and I did know this because you told me earlier. And I looked up. Oh, yeah. It's only his fifth game as Manchester United manager, so he's really fresh out the blocks in this one. And this is a United team very short on confidence. First half of this season, so this takes place on the 7th of December 1986. Ron Atkinson was sacked on the 5th of November. And just look at the results, and they are awful. Awful. And it's not just that, it's the attendances are really bad. There's only 35,000 in this game. I think generally attendances in English football are pretty bad at this time.
Yeah, Motson says, doesn't he?
It's 2 years after Heysel, English teams aren't in Europe. You know, the idea that there's trouble at grounds is prevalent, yeah, and so on. And, you know, it wouldn't take long before the government was pushing for identity cards for footballers, brand football fans, basically. So anyway, English football's in the doldrums a little bit. United are definitely in the doldrums. Atkinson has left, you know, some talented players, but a pretty poor squad. I mean, there's definitely some talented players in this. And I think for context, United end up finishing 11th behind Everton win title, Liverpool, Spurs who come third, Arsenal, and then it's Norwich, Wimbledon, Luton, Forest, Watford and Coventry. I was like, wow, some giants there coming ahead of United.
Yeah, Motson says at the end of this game these kind of games will bring the crowds back to English football. And it's just incredible to hear that. Simon, a friend of the show, Simon Stevens, messaged me during watching this game to say it feels like this is the biggest leap in time between games, because I think it's 7 years before the 91 cup final. That's 5 years, isn't it? But that leap of time, like everything changed. This looks like olden days football, really, but not the product on the pitch necessarily. Like, there was that game, it didn't feel really antiquated, apart from, of course, the back pass rule, which is just the best invention ever. Not being allowed to kill people by murdering them from tackling them from behind, and the back pass rule are the two best things that have happened to football in the last 50 years.
Yeah, there was a piece in the paper this week where Michael Oliver, the referee Michael Oliver, re-refereed the 1970 Cup final between Leeds and Chelsea and gave 11 red cards.
Yeah, I feel like they really cherry-picked their game there, didn't they?
I think so, yeah. Let's work back from the headline we'd like.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yes, this game was not like that. But look, there was there were definite patches of poor quality in this game. I mean, some good stuff from United, but a lot of like launch it forward, just knock it into the channels. No real confidence there.
I mean, we have said that about almost every game, haven't we? Knock the ball forward quickly into the channels.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I wouldn't say that Ferguson's pattern of play has been like imprinted on this team by this point, 5 games in, or anything like that. It just looks like a team that's not not huge amounts of confidence. Funnily enough, to be honest, it just looks like a Moyes team. You can say that they just knock it into the channels, and it's pretty basic 2 up front. So yes.
So the starting 11.
It's definitely an evolution in United's play.
Yeah.
Spurs a bit different, but we'll get onto that.
We'll talk about the one thing that Fergie clearly had done, which is he's clearly spent a month working on set pieces, because it's like, well, this is the first thing we can do to get some gosh darn goals. And we'll come on to that. The starting 11, Chris Turner, a goalkeeper I had literally, and I do mean literally, forgotten existed. When I saw him, I was like, is that Les Seeley? That's not Les Seeley. And then, because I had really just remembered it went Bailey, Leighton, Seeley.
No.
But no.
It was Bailey Turner, Leighton.
Yeah.
Seeley.
Yeah.
Yeah. And no, I remember Chris Turner.
I remember him now.
Being a midget.
Yeah.
So completely borne out in this game in which he struggled. I was going to say he struggled under the high ball, but it was a kind of medium ball he struggled under.
Yeah. Like reputation as a shot stopper and a good shot stopper, but like just his Wikipedia page says like he's known to lack physical presence. It's like citation needed, citation not needed. Just watch this game between United and Tottenham in 1986 needed.
Yeah, and it only takes 2 minutes for him to make his first error of the game, in which it's not a high ball, but he spills a shot from Chris Waddle, I think. No, Waddle skins Olsen down the right and gets the ball in, and Clive Allen comes in. Well, it's the shot that comes in, Turner spills it, and Allen hits the post. I think it's like 2 minutes in or something like that.
Whoever's wearing number 4 for Spurs headed the ball on target.
Roberts.
And that's it,
Roberts,
yeah. And then, oh yeah, Roberts, because Marty kept going on about how, McMenemy. Oh God, Laurie McMenemy is a difficult co-commentator. Co-commentary not really changed much in the last 100 years, apparently. So the rest of the United starting 11, you have Seaver back at right back. World Cup, played in the World Cup 1986 for Denmark, right?
He did, and he would make the place his own for another season or so under Fergie, but didn't play much in this particular campaign.
Yeah. Then you've got McGrath and Moran start together at the back. McGrath, obviously, world-class central defender. Moran, very popular with United support for reasons. And who's playing left back?
Albiston.
No, Duxbury.
No, Duxbury.
The reason that I knew that is because in my head, Albiston and Duxbury are interchangeable.
Well, and they were,
yeah,
in fact,
yeah,
for some time, yeah.
Then in midfield, we've got Jesper Olsen. Oh man, like just the epitome of a flighty, talented winger of the era. Like just a man out of time. Would have been a number 10 under Pep Guardiola. Jesper, not just because his hair looks quite a lot like David Silva's weird long bowl cut.
It didn't really work out for him at United in the sort of late 80s or so, and it's only a couple of seasons after this that he's sort of booted out of United by Ferguson.
But he's another World Cup player, so we've got now 3 players in this starting 11 that have either already all go on to play in World Cups. And then, of course, in the middle of the park, quite the powerhouse midfield, really. Brian Robson, utter, absolute, all-time legend. And Remy Moses, who in some ways was maybe Brian Robson's best central midfield partner. Is that?
Yeah, I mean, Moses' career was ruined by injuries.
Yeah.
Basically, he would have played many more games for United if it wasn't for that. Of course, he arrived at United only just before Robson, I think, in the same season. I think it was 81. And very, very talented player. Just, suffered with injury.
Yeah. And then on the right, talking of very talented players, playing in a position that we sort of don't really associate him with him, but who definitely played there a lot, was another World Cup alumni, Gordon Strachan. I absolutely adored Gordon Strachan as a kid. Olsen and Strachan, definitely, apart from Robson, my favourite players in this team at the time. Just like, I liked the jinky wingers, apparently.
and Big Norman Whiteside up front.
First start for under Fergie?
First start under Fergie, put him up front, which of course is where he sort of made his name with United initially as a kid, and then got converted into a midfielder, and then injuries ruined his career too, basically. Yeah.
Up front with the much maligned, and mostly rightly so, but not in this game, Peter Davenport. I remember when we signed him, and Shoot magazine saying, is he going to be United's first 25 goal a season man since George Best or whatever? And the spoiler warning, absolutely
no, he
not.
wouldn't be. Well, at the end of this season is when Ferguson signs Brian McClare.
Yeah.
And he did become United's first 25 goal a season player since George Best. But it was funny, actually, in looking at the notes for this game, it was the same summer he tried to sign Mark Haitley as well. And he might not have signed McClare if Haitley had come from Monaco. But so he was obviously looking at strikers, but two very different players there.
Yeah. And obviously looking at strikers because he's looking at his strikers going, I think we might need to do something about this. I mean, Davenport scores a legitimately brilliant goal in this game, but he didn't score many legitimately brilliant goals for United. Tottenham, absolutely packed with talent. I mean...
Oh, yeah. But not much of it that came out in the first half, got to say. But Ardiles, Hoddle, Waddle. I always enjoyed Waddle. Yeah.
McMenemy,
I have a little anecdote, actually, about Waddle when he was at Sheffield Wednesday. I think, in fact, it's in the game that Bruce scores too late to win it for United. He plays in that game, dives to get the penalty for Sheffield Wednesday, comes off. And my seat at Old Trafford at that time was in the South Stand. Never a great place to have a seat, but really close to the away bench, which was fun after I'd had a few shandies. And we gave him a lot of abuse, and no one ever reacted, except Waddle did. And he was like, oh, fuck off. Hey!
He gets booed every time he touches the ball in this game. And I do not remember any weird beef. He never played for Liverpool or City or anyone like that, but I couldn't work out why he was getting booed every time he touched the ball. But he definitely was. The one player that I had no memory of at all from the Spurs team was Tony Gallen. That was a name. That's a name
I know the name, but I don't remember him as a player. I mean, Clive Allen up front scored 40-odd goals in this particular campaign.
This is it, isn't it? This is the Clive Allen Annus Mirabilis.
This is the Clive Allen season. Yeah, it's really his only big season. Yeah. So Waddle, Hoddle, Ardiles coming to the end of his career, but still a talent. And it's funny watching some free kicks, actually, where Ardiles in his own half just punts it straight down the middle. I was like, it's a super talented Spurs team that want to play football the right way, but it's English football in the mid-80s, and he just knocks it.
Can you not knock it?
Yeah, it really was, yeah. So, tons of... And this is a Spurs side that finished third in the Premier League, lost to Coventry City in the FA Cup final and made semi-finals of the League Cup. So a very good Spurs side.
Yeah. And I think in terms of player performance in this game, I think in some ways the most kind of eye-catching performances were probably I thought Strachan was brilliant for us, but Waddle and Hoddle, they both look absolutely class.
Hoddle especially in the second half. After Ardiles had gone off and he's sort of shunted forward a little bit, really comes into the game. And Waddle, it's lovely watching him. He just he's a player who just wants to beat whatever's in front of him. 1 man, 2 man, 3 men, doesn't matter. So
Laurie McMenemy says at one point, he's a very frustrating player. He must be a very frustrating player for a manager or for the players that play with him. And I'm like, is that how Chris Waddle was thought of? Go to Marseille, where they were like deifying him once, and no wonder like he enjoyed not being in England anymore. They just English mistrust of skill was in full effect, wasn't it?
I mean, he played 62 times for England. Should have been a lot more. Hoddle only played 30-something for England, didn't he? Which was just criminal. Yeah, I mean, he had 3 fantastic seasons in Marseille. Chris Waddle, it could have been more. Came back, won a PFA Player of the Year in his first season back with Sheffield Wednesday. So, yeah, tons of talent. And it showed for the first, 12 minutes. United score after 12 minutes. The first 12 minutes, it's all Spurs.
Absolutely.
They are trying to play football. United are not in this at all.
No.
And you're thinking like, where are United's 3 goals coming from in this game? Because they're getting completely bossed.
And Motti says, as such a kind of snapshot in time, because David Pleat had only taken over Tottenham that season as well, and he says that United look nervous, and then he says like, well, the players need time to set. Both teams' players need time to settle under their new managers, and it's just, even though obviously we know that Alex Ferguson's era must have begun at some point, and we both remember it beginning, it still has this sense of permanence in retrospect. Like, he was always the United manager. He will always be the United manager. But no, at one point, like, this was the first game that he had McGrath, Robson and Whiteside. Although, of course, McGrath didn't last much longer after the United goal. But let's talk about that United goal. What a free kick route. Where did this go? Like, Fergie gave up on all this business. There was none of this in the later period.
Yeah, I mean, that is true. He had Phil Jones taking corners or whatever. No, he didn't. So that was someone else.
Yeah,
it's true. I don't think of Ferguson as someone who sort of innovated around free kick routines at all. I mean, there was the one where Beckham played it out to Scholes, who volleyed it in from 900 yards. But that was just the 2 of them doing that.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, as Fergie went on in time as United manager, he took on less and less of the direct coaching and farmed it out, and he became much more of basically a director of football and a sort of motivational speaker.
Yeah.
And so maybe that's part of it. He didn't have the people in who focused on that, or football involved, and the set piece became less centrally important to the English game and Fergie. Or what you said earlier, this is a way of getting some quick wins.
Yeah, because I suspect also the personnel makes a huge difference, because if you've got David Beckham and Cristiano Ronaldo, you don't really need to worry about being fancy from free kicks, just score goals. But this one, so Robson taps it to Davenport who's about by the penalty spot-ish. He lays it off towards Olsen on the right-hand side of the box. Olsen does a step over dummy, and Strachan, first time low cross, quite similar to the Giggs cross for Cantona in that City game we just watched. And Big Norm, lovely to see Big Norm getting a tap in. Just delightful. Whiteside scores and United are 1-0 up and massively against the run of play, but it's just a perfectly executed one from the training ground, isn't it?
Yeah. Norman Whiteside, only 21 at this stage.
Wow.
Should have gone on to have a magnificent career. So talented. Of course, played in the World Cup in 82, aged 17. Oh, yeah, mental.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got in my notes after this, quite a lot of pointless balls forward from United. It's like...
Including Brian Robson, by the way. Not Brian Robson's best game.
No, it really isn't, actually. There have been better games. We've seen him in this series. But yeah, I think shortly after that, he tries to play one out left to Olsen, sort of shanks it, doesn't he? And he doesn't really get into the game at all in the first half, Robson.
No, and it was as pointed out in commentary, coming back from injury. I guess coming back from the injury, right? The Morocco game
dislocate shoulder.
Dislocate. Yeah.
I don't know whether he played much before this for United this season, or Robson was perpetually coming back from injury because that was Brian Robson. True. Not in this game a lot, and neither were United for quite some time. And I guess it's when do we get to 1-1? It's sometime after this, though, isn't it? No. In fact, United are 2-0 up before half-time. That's right, yeah.
Yeah, so before all that, the next kind of major incident of note is that McGrath can't carry on, and clearly he's done his knee, twisted knee, which is like, there's something about that it just sounds so bad, doesn't it? But Stapleton comes on, proving that the Fergie tombola was not a latter-day invention. I mean, Frank Stapleton had played centre-back before, but this feels like a very 80s thing to me. Players that doubled as centre-forwards and centre-backs. You don't get too many of those nowadays. You don't see, like, if Toby Alderweireld went off injured, Harry Kane's not dropping back to fill in at centre-half, is he? But Frank Stapleton, very much a centre-forward in his early career, has a late career as a centre-back. And I kind of thought when this happened, I wonder if this is going to be why Spurs get their goals, but it isn't really.
No, Stapleton's fine, yeah. I kind of wished... I met Frank Stapleton interviewed him with Sammy McIlroy in a bar somewhere, and I can't remember which bar it was. It was kind of really weird conversation. It took a whole bunch of turns, but I kind of, looking back on this, I'd have liked to talk to him about what it was like being a centre forward, playing at centre half. The only other one I can think of, I'm sure there are others, but Dion Dublin did it quite a bit. So I mean,
Ruud Gullit ended up being a sweeper, didn't he, at the end of his career? And it was a thing. And there was who was that lad? There was played for Blackburn, I think. This is later, 90s.
Yeah, like Paul Warhurst.
Yes, there you go.
Striker and defender, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So there's a lovely 1-2 between Moran and Davenport. Like, really nice move to get Moran 1v1 the keeper. And McMenemy says, typical defender's finish. It's like, he stabs it with the outside of his boot, deceiving the keeper, and trickles just wide. That's a typical 80s central defender's finish. Like, I don't remember football.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose he panics a little bit. It's not a little dink over the keeper. He doesn't try and go round the keeper. He toe pokes it. Yeah.
But also, that's kind of like, it's just interesting that in open play, the centre-back is 1v1 with the keeper. And it really was from open play as well. It wasn't like a second ball after a corner or anything like that, I don't think. But yeah, then there's a really nice cross from Davenport, which Gary Mabbott heads out. Paul Allen's a little bit weak in the challenge. So Davenport puts the ball in from the left, and Mabbott heads it back out towards the left. Paul Allen's sort of skinned basically by Davenport, picks it up, cuts inside. Very narrow angled finish.
Yes, very nice.
Lovely. A player who's not been thriving with the greatest of confidence lately, as John Motson so delicately put it,
or ever. Following in the long trail of Forest players who've failed at Old Trafford. So
him and Birtles
and Webb. Yeah. Oh, well, I don't know whether you'd call Webb a failure. He perhaps didn't live up to what people wanted of him.
The next midfielder who United signed off Forest, it turned out all right, though, after Neil Webb, to be fair.
That's very true. Yeah. Lovely goal, this, though. Weak from Gary Mabbott. They effusive praise after he scores. It's a poor header out.
Paul Allen's really the one, though.
Yeah, very weak. Went on to found Microsoft, though, so I thought it was, it's pretty good.
The fact that Gary Mabbott scores a diving header in this game is like, when I think of Gary Mabbott, I think of this diving header. That's like the first thing that pops into my head, because there was nothing I liked as a child more than a diving headed goal. Don't
get enough diving headers these days, do you? It's gone out of the game. Is that a fashion?
In the 90s, yeah. People don't want to stick their head where other people wouldn't stick their boot anymore.
Weak footballers. Souness would do it, tell you.
Yeah, he would. Idiot. At half-time, Motson says the score's a fair reflection of the game, and says that Spurs started brightly but tailed off. And he's absolutely right. Their bright start disappeared. Their confidence was not particularly solid, was it?
No, it wasn't. It's funny how it took a big tactical change to bring Spurs back into this game. But clearly, yeah, for a team that finishes the third place in the league, they didn't start that way in this game. I did find it funny after both of United's first two goals, the Old Trafford crowd, sparse as it was, to one, breaks into song, Are You Watching Merseyside? I was like, finished first and second in the league that year. I mean, there might have been watching, but not with any great sense of dread. That would
probably
come.
That moment. Yes, it would. I guess it's just like being on TV was such a unique thing because this match was televised live on the BBC. One of probably maybe 10 matches that season, if that were televised live. It was a very rare thing that certainly United would not be on the telly very often. And it's kind of nice that this was televised, given it's so early in Fergie's reign, and you can sort of, I don't know, there's the beginning of some sort of sense of fighting spirit from the United side that had been battered. I mean, Norman Whiteside gave an interview in the United podcast that he did a couple of weeks ago. He talked about Fergie coming in and saying, I don't care if you're Robson, McGrath or Whiteside, I'm the boss now. And so those three were the kind of big boys in the team at the time, even though, like you said, Whiteside was literally still basically a child at this point.
Yeah. Well, he'd drive an awful lot of those players out in the next 3 years, wouldn't he? Stapleton, Davenport, McGrath. McGrath lasted another 2.5 years. Olsen, Remy Moses, Strachan, Whiteside for different reasons, all gone in the 3 years after this. Ferguson just broke up this team, and for some of it for performance reasons, some for drinking reasons. Quite a lot for drinking reasons. Anyway, at half-time, Motson launches into this monologue about how the last time Spurs had won at Old Trafford in the league, that is, was 10 years previous to this, 76, and they'd come back from 2-0 down to win 3-2. Could this happen again?
Yeah, and he's got kind of a smile in his voice, like he's been a bit deliberately cheeky, really. And then, before you know it, he's like, people say we make too much of these past events, but stuff does happen. I really enjoyed Motti in this. This is kind of prime Motti, I think. Like, as a kid, again, I think I preferred Motson to Barry Davis because Barry Davis seemed posh, which meant bad when I was a kid. But obviously, like, in retrospect, and probably by the time the 90s had rolled around, I would have picked Barry Davis as the commentator of choice. But Motti does have a certain jovial, genial listenability and charm, doesn't he?
Yes, and he doesn't editorialise around it too much. Few perspectives, little bit of interplay with McMenemy, who's basically intolerant manager in front of a microphone.
Yes, he's just
at
like,
this
imagine
point, Sunderland manager, which is kind of interesting because you don't get too many active managers doing media these days,
especially not co-commentary. I think that'd be unimaginable. If I can't even think who Newcastle manager is. I can only apologise to the people of Newcastle.
Steve Bruce.
It's Steve Bruce. It's Steve Bruce. That's who it is. That's how long football's been off the telly. So imagine if Steve Bruce did the co-commentary on a Liverpool versus Arsenal game or something.
It'd be great. I think they should do it more often.
Yeah, they should.
I mean, Mourinho did a lot of media when he was out of work, but he wouldn't do it now.
No, of course not.
I want to see Ollie doing co-coms on the Liverpool derby or something like that.
I'm not sure I do, to be honest. McMenemy has a pop at the Waddler, saying to manager no doubt to play with too, who must be frustrated. It's like crazy. Just basically, if you haven't watched this game, imagine that Graham Souness is the co-commentator and you're about right. But then it's an absolutely brilliant corner from Glenn Hoddle and an awesome diving header for Gary Mabbott to make it 2-1.
It is a very good diving header. I mean, and they just made the substitution, Danny Thomas coming on for Ardiles, juggled things around. Waddle wins the corner. Is it Hoddle who puts in the corner? It's Hoddle who puts in the corner. Waddle wins it. Hoddle delivers it.
Yeah.
And, Mabbott with a flying header.
I mean, the fact that there's no defenders anywhere near him is probably not a great sign, but it is a great corner and a great header. He's a very nice character. He's praised, and he's called a very nice character. And, of course, it is mentioned, as it inevitably was every time he appeared on television, that he was a diabetic because you couldn't talk about it. And then, I think it's Motson says, he's quite an eater too.
Yes.
All right, Mossy, Jesus.
He was a bit tired this morning, saw him have a huge breakfast in the canteen, it sorted him out.
Yeah. And so immediately mentioning his diabetes and his eating habits. But yeah, it's a fantastic goal. And then, oh my God, Tottenham's second is just a absolute disaster.
It's a lovely attempt by Hoddle, isn't it? It's the kind of left-footed chip, great piece of skill. But then I'm like, you're really only getting 6 out of 10 for that for me because you're chipping Chris Turner. It's cheating. It's cheating. The guy's 4 foot tall.
And like, it's not like Turner's massively out of position. He could easily deal with it. I think he's just scared because the ball's in the air and he's like, oh, I'm bad at this. This is the thing I know I'm bad at. And he kind of he flaps it out. It goes past him. But Kevin Moran could definitely have avoided scoring an own goal in that moment. It's not like it ricochets off him from 2 yards out. He tries to scoop it out.
Badly.
And
shins
shins it into
Phil
the net.
Jones-esque, that attempt was, yes. It's quite funny. Yeah.
Phil Jones has never made a mistake that bad in his entire United career. This is how bad it is, I think. Oh no, actually, maybe there's that one that he swung at and he went in the back of the net. But it hasn't happened very often. So this was the second time I'd ever seen Kevin Moran play football, because obviously I wasn't able to go to games as a kid. The first time he got sent off in the FA Cup final, and the second time he scored this own goal. So I did not hold him in high esteem as a child. These are the things he does. Had United been on TV between the FA Cup final in 1985 and this, maybe, like, probably not that often, like a couple of times maybe.
No, I mean they just didn't have that much football on TV. I mean, Motti and McMenemy, their previous game before this was the Liverpool-Everton derby, which was 2 weeks before this, so they talk about it in co-coms. I mean, most commentators today are doing 4 games in 8 days or whatever. Yeah. So, because there's just so much football to commentate on.
Olsen has a nice break and goes to cross it. Davenport's waiting and Gary Madbutt does well to cut out the cross. And the pattern of play at this point is quite back and forth for a game that's gone from 2-0 to 2-2. It's not, again, like I think I said this about the City United game, this isn't necessarily a game of two halves in the way that the score might make you think it was. But Tottenham definitely were kind of on top at this point.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, sort of an hour in or whatever, hour, 70 minutes in, Hoddle's running the show, isn't he? It's through him that the Spurs are able to kind of wrestle back some kind of control-ish. But United are breaking, Olsen's still lively. It's amazing, don't get any substitutions these days. In those days, 1. So the pattern doesn't necessarily change through substitutions. There's a couple of chances for Spurs. Allen has a good chance before he gets the goal as well, which is the one that looks like it's going to put the nail in the coffin for United. And an absolute mess, this one as well.
So Hoddle to Waddle on the byline, swings a crossover, and Allen heads it from 1 yard, and it ricochets off Robbo, I think, as he's trying to get to the cross. I've just written Turner not great.
I mean, it's a kind of sort of scooped cross, which I suppose could give you could confuse the keeper or something like that.
Yeah, because it kind of bounces off Robson, doesn't it, as the ball's coming across.
But he's in the middle of his goal. He just doesn't move. So anyway.
Who is supposed to be marking Clive Allen?
I don't know. Don't know Clive. Don't know who's supposed to be marking him, but he's 2 yards out, so someone should have been.
I think he collides. Maybe it's Moran actually, because I think he collides with Moran while he's trying to score and starts bleeding quite a lot. Clive Allen. But yeah, I mean, he was scoring a goal a game this season, more than a goal a game this season. But yeah, it's just really bad defending. But United, you'd think this team that's kind of browbeaten, exhausted, players coming back from injury, got a new manager because the last manager got sacked, they might kind of give up and their heads go down, but they really don't. And Robson has a chance where it's kind of like he's falling and spinning and he sort of sends it wide. But it's a pretty big chance. He's just off balance, and you could easily have seen him score it even off balance. And then Danny Thomas plays brilliantly after he comes on. He's like Hoddle's running the show, but Thomas's arrival is a massive injection of kind of energy and talent, and like he defends really well. And then I don't know what happens to his brain in this moment. He's not exhausted. He's only played half the game.
No, that's right. And I mean, it's Robson that should be exhausted, coming back from injury, but bursting into the box. And Robson,
Thomas just falls on him.
It's just a mess.
Yeah. And then a really good penalty from Peter Davenport under pressure. I was surprised that Peter Davenport would be on pens in this team. I'm not sure who. I guess Robson didn't take penalties, but kind of thought maybe Robson or, Whiteside even. But no, Peter Davenport's got penalty duties, and Clements gets a hand to it, goes the right way, but it's really firmly struck. Just above a nice height for a keeper, I'd say. So Clements is right.
Just about. And United could have won it a minute before the end. Another good break, and Richard Gough played the World Cup in Strachan's side in Scotland, sort of heads over his own bar from underneath the crossbar. Very, very, that would have been a classic. I mean,
So 3-3 it finishes, and it felt like a fair result, and Motson very excited, saying the crowds will come back if they keep getting served up games like this, and it would turn out to be true. This was, Ferguson would build a swashbuckling, exciting United side that would kind of capture the imagination of multiple generations, really. I thoroughly enjoyed revisiting this game. The quality is not the highest. It is kind of a bit of a mid-table clash, but there's some really talented players, lot of players that played in a World Cup for an 80s mid-table clash, and it just sort of shows the great paradox of 80s United, really, just sparkling stars all around the pitch and just somehow not able to quite knit it all together, not quite enough cohesion and team spirit and all that kind of stuff. But Fergie would obviously see to that, and 6 years later we'd win the first league title that we won, and then we just would not stop winning league titles for another 20 years.
It's very true. So what are we talking about next time?
Well, we've just gone back, the furthest we've gone back in time, and watched some actual bona fide old football from before United were good. We're not going to go all the way to United not being good anymore in the future, but we are zooming in our time machine back to much more recent times, and it's obviously much more recent than this, but it's still, God, like 7.5 years ago, which is that's true. What I just said is true. It's 7.5 years ago. That is insane.
Yes. So this is the 3-2 City derby at the Etihad. Robin van Persie.
Yeah.
He's apparently the last Manchester United player to score a Premier League hat-trick.
That's not great, is it?
It's not great. This was on Twitter, and I think it was someone being smart with a sort of let that sink in from an Arsenal account. To which Scott from the Republic of Mancunia said, last time Arsenal won the title, Robin van Persie was 20 and at Feyenoord. He's now retired, age 36. You still haven't won the title. I thought it was a fair comeback, to be fair.
Pretty good.
Anyway.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
It was lovely to go back to the 80s, but we're going to fast forward to much more recent times. That
are we going to be covering some stuff in future episodes from the Moyes season? Maybe the 82 crosses. We could rate each cross from 1 to 82.
That sounds very tiring, but hey, by the time all this ends, that might be where we are. I wouldn't mind doing 1 or 2 Van Gaal games maybe at some point, but remember the FA Cup final or something, but or the Tony Martial semi-final.
All right, well, thanks for listening to this. We'll post the links to both this game, if you haven't watched it already, you should have done.
Yeah, you're fine just watching the extended highlights on YouTube of this one.
Yeah, and next week's game as well. You'll you'll be able to find this one all over the internet. But most of them we post in the show notes, so you can get hold of it.
This is also the first game that we're doing that we have covered before, so maybe we should listen to what we said. And maybe if I get time, I will watch the game and listen to the show if I can find it. Actually, no, scratch that. Forget that. You can't.
You'll be able to find it.
Anymore.
It's just the date of. You can. We have the archive on the web. So,
okay, great. Okay, lovely. So yeah, we'll find that and listen to that. I mean, I can find it because I've got FTP access to the old server. So Anyway, thanks for listening, everyone. And we hope that you are taking real good care of yourselves, mentally and physically, staying real safe. And we're sending all our love. And if you're on the front lines, a massive amount of gratitude. And if we had letters on the front of our house, we'd be lighting them up for sure.
Certainly would. Stay safe, everyone. Thanks for listening.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.